Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Oh, just living the dream, trying to get through the dog days of September.
Are you ready for the World Series?
Not this year, not in Kansas City. No, probably have to go somewhere else for that. You know, before we get started, I, as you can see on my show notes, what do you think they want me to mention here? Why don't you mention it?
Well, did you know this podcast is brought to you by Fullscale.io?
Did you? Thank you, Matt.
We help people build software development teams quickly
and affordably.
Efficiently, affordably.
Yeah. Thank you. And by the way, I'm going to start thanking people at the beginning of the episode. So thank you to the Snow Pops people.
Yes.
I
might be drunk later today.
Did they freeze up
I
overnight?
should have had some of those before. We should go get some right now.
No? Matt, first off, it's 10:30 in the morning.
You can't drink all day if you don't start early.
Oh, my God. Welcome to Startup Hustle, Tammie.
Thank you.
So I will go ahead and
perks of being the boss, right?
I will go ahead and introduce Tammie.
I didn't sign the employee handbook.
Hey, stop. It's Tammie time.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Tammie Wahaus, who
So you need one.
Oh, my God.
Snow Pops for her. I'm sorry.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest now. This is what happens when we get off format. So anyway, we're here with Tammie Wahaus today. She is the CEO of ELIAS Animal Health. Now, you know I love it when you are interactive, so go to eliasanimalhealth.com. That's ELIAS animalhealth.com. Hi, Tammie.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good, but now when you say hi, Matt, you have to be careful because we both could have said hello.
I was hoping that you would both say hello.
She was talking to you, but looking at me.
We like the ambiguity.
Yeah.
Matt is awesome.
Yes. It makes it a lot easier.
Matt is a good podcast host.
This is true.
Both Matts.
No,
just one of them.
You know what's funny too is owning a business with someone that has your same name. We can't be Matt at Fullscale.io.
What do you go by?
Well, I'm Deco. It's just a short version of my last name, or Watson. So now everyone knows our email address, and make sure to email Watson at Fullscale.io with all of the questions that you would like us to address here on the show.
Absolutely.
But one question we can start with is related to your business. And you've got, today we're going to be talking about animal health startups. So tell us all about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, so ELIAS Animal Health is a life sciences company that was spun out of a human health company called TVAX Biomedical. We have the rights to technology that we're developing to treat cancer in dogs. It's the same technology that's being used as a treatment for humans. So it's kind of a One Health approach to treating cancer. Many people don't know that cancer is a big problem in dogs. There are over 6 million dogs diagnosed with cancer each year. So it's a large unmet medical need. The veterinary market hasn't had new products brought to market for cancer treatment in over 20 years.
Interesting. So are the types of cancer the same, or do you treat them the same as you do in humans? Like, do they do radiation and like stuff like that, or like how do you?
Yeah, interestingly, in the last 10 years, veterinary oncology has been growing significantly as a certification. If you're a licensed veterinarian, you can go through additional training and seek licensure to be a licensed oncologist. They also have licensed radiologists. So a dog diagnosed with cancer will go see the veterinarian, who will then get referred to a veterinary oncologist, who will then study the situation, determine what the stage of disease is, just like in humans, and then recommend a course of treatment, which today, until we get out there into the marketplace in a much bigger way, today dogs are offered chemotherapy and radiation, Many times they're only provided surgery to remove the tumor. In a lot of cases, they're actually only offered palliative care, which means keep them comfortable until euthanasia is necessary. So our approach is to change that. We want to replace euthanasia for sure. We want to replace chemotherapy. It has similar side effects in dogs as it does in humans. And pet owners don't like to make that choice for their dog to have to go through a chemotherapy regimen.
So I was going to save this for later, but this is relevant now. So there's clearly quite a bit of backing for what you're doing. Your company's raised $5.3 million in funding. And like I was going to save that for a little later, but like I think that throwing that out there now, like, that's clearly someone is believing in what you guys are doing from an investment standpoint. That's not a small sum of money. And, as far as like the actual, the thing I'm wondering is, and you mentioned something about, Matt asked about, is the treatment the same? Is this cancer the same? Is this also like a precursor for certain types of human treatments?
Yeah, we actually, when we look at the canine situation or the dog situation, they do have many of the same cancers that humans have. It occurs in, different proportions in dogs. For example, B-cell lymphoma is one of the top canine cancers. Osteosarcoma, bone cancer, is one of the top canine cancers. It's also interesting when you look at dogs, cancer types do tend to be more prevalent in certain breeds. So if you look at a breed, you may see that it has a prevalence for B-cell lymphoma, a prevalence for osteosarcoma. Those tend to be the larger dogs.
Yeah, I had my neighbor when I lived in Indianapolis had a St. Bernard, and it had bone cancer.
Yeah.
And it didn't live very long.
It was
like 5 years old or something, and it was really heartbreaking because the dog was fine, and then like a year later,
not.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm really intrigued about, and I'm intrigued about this in humans too, is have dogs always had cancer and we just didn't know it, or is it just more diagnosed now, or is it more of a new phenomenon? And this is a thing I think about with humans too. Like, did humans not have cancer, and then like 30 years ago we did something and now we all get cancer? Like, that's what I always wonder about, even with like dogs.
Meaning like not even 30 years ago, but like 3,000 years ago. Like, did people have cancer?
Well, is it something we eat now that causes cancer, and then like 100 years ago nobody ate,
that.
we didn't soak all of our wheat with pesticide, but now we do. So we eat all this pesticide and we all get cancer. Like, I mean, that's part of what I wonder about in life, right? Like, Did people get cancer before? Did dogs get cancer before?
So cancer tends to be a disease of aging. So if you go back 3,000 years, how long did people live? How long did dogs live? A much shorter lifespan, and so
they didn't get old enough to get cancer.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So
I never really
they got
thought
ate
about
by
that.
a bigger dog.
Yeah, so you're like
or a bear.
Well, you look back at like human life expectancy, and
or a dinosaur.
I mean, we would be old men, and
we.
Yeah,
you,
you, buddy.
Just you.
Even you, buddy, because there was this life
in your 30s. Yeah.
Life expectancy is in mid-30s.
I'm in my prime.
Oh man. Yes.
So we believe that there is also a little bit more to the story. You ask, is it just more diagnosed? And we believe that is true. You look back over the last few hundred years, the ability in humans to diagnose cancer, to even understand what was the cause of death, has improved significantly over the last few hundred years. And then in dogs, the focus has, if you think in the 50 years ago, maybe your grandparents owned a dog, or your great-grandparents owned a dog, and where did that dog live? He lived outside. His job was outside. And in the last 50 years, certainly the last 30 years, dogs have come indoors, and they have become our fur kids.
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot more time with them, and we are far more observant of what's happening. We notice lumps and bumps. We notice limps. And the access to veterinary care has increased significantly. And so we take them to be seen by a veterinarian to find out why is Fluffy limping. So I think there are a lot of things that factor in. It is also likely that it is environmental. You know, they have come indoors. And so they're now living and breathing and eating much of the same things we are.
Which are highly toxic in the United States.
Yeah.
It seems. But so
I think it's a combination.
Yeah. So I'm just always curious about cancer rates in general. But so back to what your company does. So you guys developed the technology to do the cancer treatments, right? You don't actually do the treatments yourself.
That's
right?
correct. We're the manufacturer.
So you develop. So is this treatment, is it a drug, or what would you call it exactly?
It's called a biologic.
Okay.
Explain that.
Yeah. So it is our treatment. We actually are using live cells. So that's a biological item, right? Cells are biological. Our particular treatment, it is actually a two-step process. Our goal is to leverage the immune system.
So we're doing this for rheumatoid arthritis and other things in humans now, right?
Yeah, they do stem cell, applications. And so ours is sort of along those same lines. It's not the same, but it's along those same lines. And our belief is, and then what we're proving out in clinical trials, is that the immune system has the capacity to recognize cancer. Cancer essentially is a mutation of a normal cell. So the immune system typically doesn't attack self, right? Unless you have autoimmune disease. So cancer has a unique way of eluding the immune system.
Right.
I'm a cancer cell. I look a little bit different, but not enough different that you attack me. So it just works behind the scenes, continues to grow and expand until it becomes a problem.
And so the biologic knows how to target that, or?
Yeah, what we actually do is we take the cancer tissue from the patient. So this is a very personalized medicine, which is very unique in dogs. Unique in humans, but extremely unique in dogs. We take the cancer tissue, manufacture a vaccine, and what does a vaccine do? The theory is with a vaccine, you are educating the immune system that this item I'm sending in the vaccine is bad. So immune system, please be alerted. When you see this thing, attack.
Wow.
Right?
So you have to do surgery on the dog, get the cancer tissue, take it back to your lab, to your manufacturing facility, whatever you would call that, right?
Yeah.
And then manufacture a one-off drug for that one animal. Wow.
That is correct. So that's step one.
That sounds expensive.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Well, let's finish the theory and then we'll talk about the cost. So that's step one. We have told the immune system now by the delivery of that vaccine product that this is bad. This cancer cell, when you see it, you should recognize that it should not be here. But the immune system is unable at that point in time to really mount a successful defense. Vaccines are preventative, right? We don't cure polio by giving someone who has polio a vaccine, right? It's preventative. It's telling the immune system, watch out for these things. But the problem with cancer is there's too many cells on board already for the immune system to fully function on its own. So after we get the immune system primed with the vaccine, then we have the patient go through a leukapheresis process, which is just the collection of mononuclear cells, or like a blood donation. Collect those cells that have been primed or educated as to what that cancer looks like, bring that into our lab, expand the numbers, and fully activate them so that when they're delivered back to the patient in an infusion, so now we've done a vaccine and now we're doing an infusion, then that's a killer T-cell army that's going to go in and attack the cancer wherever it sees it. So it's coming in through the bloodstream, it's moving through the body, looking for metastatic cancers wherever they may be.
So how does this work compared to like chemotherapy or radiation? What do those do?
Yeah, so chemotherapy and radiation typically
This is highly educational today.
Right, no doubt.
are indiscriminate. kill all cells.
Yeah, that's it's like literally taking you down to nothing.
Right.
That's why the patient's so weakened. And then it's like they're just,
Take me
I
to
think
the
they're
brink
just
of death.
basically hoping that it doesn't grow back, right?
Right. So chemotherapy, typically the way chemotherapy works is it kills all rapidly dividing cells. That's what cancer is, a rapidly dividing cell that has a mutation on it. That's what your hair is, a rapidly dividing cell.
No,
This is
that's why we lose our hair.
There you go.
So I want to go way back now. So now we understand like what you guys are doing, but in discussing animal health startups. So like, at some point you were nowhere near where everything you just described, right?
Right. I'm a finance person.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask what your background was, because you're clearly quite educated on the subject, and I would hope as the CEO of the company that you learned a couple of things along the way. But when we go way back in your timeline, like you mentioned that this was a spin-off or like a split off of another biotech company.
Correct.
So were you involved in that company too?
I was. In 2011, I got involved with the human health company that has this technology, which was developed at the University of Kansas and then brought out into a company for the purposes of developing it further and bringing it.
Were they building this solution or developing this solution for people?
They were.
Okay, so this is an iteration of the same thing.
Right.
Now, is the people version, is that in play somewhere? Is it in clinical trials or doing anything like that?
We're actually raising money for the human health company right now to launch a brain cancer clinical trial.
Okay.
And
So are you involved in that company too?
I am involved in that company.
Oh, what's it called?
TVEX Biomedical.
So isn't there another company here called TEVA?
Teva.
So that's a different. These are
That's a
different
completely
companies.
different company.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Also in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
but
that's why I was confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, rock chalk, go Jayhawks.
Yeah.
Always like it when.
Well, you talk about
doing
animal
something
health
novel.
startups. Like the whole Midwest, right around here, is real big in agriculture,
Right.
and animal health, and biosciences, and
Yeah, we're in the perfect place, the animal health corridor.
But it's we hear that term animal health corridor, and let's actually like take a second and define that, because
Yeah, sure.
this is probably like the 4th or 5th episode. I mean, even like Kevin Lockett and the ag tech venture fund that he's working with was mentioning the animal health corridor. So here in Kansas, there's a lot of agriculture, and that with that, it's not just growing wheat; it's often animals as well. Right. Is that the reason that this started, or is there another? Is there a university? Is there some kind of medical research center or something, or like why are we the animal health corridor here in Kansas City?
Well, partly because we decided to be.
Okay.
it's Cowtown, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Animal Health Corridor theoretically runs from the University of Missouri in Columbia
Okay.
all the way out to Kansas State University.
Okay.
And at both of those universities, you have large agricultural focus. So you have your production animals, you have you have veterinary medical schools. University of Missouri also has a human medical school as well.
You can get all the way to St. Louis, and we got Monsanto.
You do have, and when you look at just,
Yeah.
They might be causing some of the cancer.
Yeah, they might. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, just back to this area, right? You go all the way to St. Louis, just a little further.
Yeah.
You've got home to Monsanto.
Well, and if you look at the, I don't have the exact number, but if you look at the number of animal health companies and agricultural companies that are represented in this region, they have facilities here, manufacturing facilities, or corporate offices, or sales organizations. It's a large percentage. I believe it's over 1/3 of the worldwide assets in agriculture and animal health are represented here in this region. So we have this fantastic group of individuals that are knowledgeable of issues, that are knowledge in the agriculture and life sciences for veterinary medicine. We have lots of veterinarians, we have lots of researchers, and then of course you have NBAF, which is coming in, which is going to bring even more researchers.
And what is that again?
The National Bio-Agro-Defense Facility.
Okay.
Wow.
I didn't even know all this stuff was going on.
So I would guess a lot of this loops up to like Iowa State, Omaha, Nebraska,
Right. But
further kind of loops into all of this,
me
right?
personally, I look at this region very broadly. Because
Sure.
you've got a vet med school in Iowa as well. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Center for Veterinary Biologics is headquartered in Ames, Iowa.
That's why I figured.
So my regulator
Iowa
is
State.
just up the road.
So, all right. So there has to be a lot of animal health startups that have popped up here in the region because of that. Now, are there other people that are working on similar solutions or other things that are doing similar stuff or even working with you to try to, like when I think about curing cancer, it's like one of those things. It's like, like you would like everyone to join arms and like move forward in the same direction. I'm positive that's not the way it's working.
Not in a capitalist society. It's
Right.
not exactly that way.
Right. Yeah. And so that's what I'm curious about is like, is that environment for a cure? And like I said, in the there's idealism and there's realism.
Yeah.
So in the ideal world, we all link arms and like form this mega force and move forward and crush cancer. And then in reality, we're probably quite secretive and trying to beat the other person.
The investors don't like
solution.
that idea.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, is that the way that it is?
So we have linked arms certainly with the veterinary oncology community. They're our primary customer.
Okay.
It's a small community. There are about 425 licensed veterinary oncologists around the world. We probably know every single one of
You
them.
said 425 in the world?
In the world.
So and to break that down into plain English, that means there are barely over 400 dog cancer doctors in the world.
That have that license certification. You also have a group of internists or internal medicine certified veterinarians who have also been treating cancer.
Okay. I mean, that's not a lot. That's not many.
Small market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from an investor point of view, we kind of shift here to talk about how did I raise $5 million to run the clinical trials, and what are the milestones that my investors...
Is the use of funds strictly like clinical trials?
So it has, in the early years, yes. So the first dollars that we spent was actually on a market study. What is the size of the market? And we raised a small amount of money in the first year back in 2014-15 and hired an independent market agency or market research firm to go out and find out how big is this market, because pardon me, in animal health, you don't have access to the kind of data that you have in human health.
Is that where you came up with the number of 6 million dogs?
Yeah, so Morris Animal Foundation did a study and came up with 6 million dogs. In our study, we were more focused on what kinds of cancer and even more focused on which dogs are being treated.
Okay.
So it's one thing, if you're an investor, great that there are 6 million dogs diagnosed. I want to know how many are you going to be able to sell this product to? And that gets to your question earlier on, how much does this cost? Is personalized medicine really expensive? And it's clearly one of the first things we had to look at. And yes, it is more expensive than a rabies vaccine, but there are a high percentage of pet owners. Well, let me rephrase that. There is a group of pet owners that want to treat their dog for cancer. There is also a group of pet owners that aren't going to treat their dog. Either it's just not what they believe in, they don't have the financial resources to do it, they aren't close enough to a vet med center that even has the capability. Not everybody can offer the treatments that are available, so you got to be close.
So what does it typically cost?
So we've entered the market. So to treat a dog with chemotherapy and radiation, which is what historically has been available, you can spend $10,000.
Phew.
I mean, that it depends. If it's all relative, man.
Yeah,
You-
it depends.
If you want to fix the dog.
And there are enough people that do want to fix the dog that we
Well,
can
and pet
conclude that this
insurance
the
is
market.
becoming a thing now, so you can get pet insurance that would potentially pay for this.
It is. Today, 5% of dogs are covered by pet insurance.
Wow.
we believe that number and the
There's a talk about
there's a
animal
whole
health.
industry.
There's a company here in Kansas City called Companion Protect. That's
Yep.
what they do, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
big company
it's a really
here.
growing
Yeah.
market, and
Shout out to them.
right?
I was at an event last night with some people from Companion Protect.
Yeah. Big
Yeah.
company here.
Yep,
Yeah,
growing fast. I didn't realize 5% of dogs and cats were
cover.
insured.
Yeah,
That's an interesting product. You know, I had a lot of conversation with them about it. And
So-
just like that whole coverage, because you know, you talk about the understanding and the learning, because it's, you know, we're talking about dogs, but dogs aren't. That's not just that broad, because some dogs, like you said, are affected by, well, we, you know, especially with the purebred nature of
Right.
certain dogs. I mean, you're talking about, like, we have intentionally kept a gene pool closed, and some of those dogs, you know, really suffer from a lot of issues.
They're
Like,
all
you look-
second cousins.
well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, you look at, like, you know, I mean, there's just a lot of recessive traits that haven't come out of the gene pool, and you know, how do you, you know, that was one of the things that I talked to the folks at Companion about, was, you know, some dogs are gonna live a healthy, vibrant life, and some are, like, really prone to, like, a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And it's always the purebreds, like the German Shepherd and hip problems and just different stuff. You know, we had French bulldogs at one point, and you know, they are snorty, farty little dogs that have, like, a lot of issues, just because of the way that they've been bred. They have,
Right.
like, developed spinal issues and just weird stuff, where, you know, if you have maybe a mixed breed dog, then, I mean, seen some of them that seem to be really active and do well. So
interesting. Though the mixed breeds also turn up with cancer.
yeah, I bet. So now, is there, and thanks for the background on the animal health corridor. I wasn't, so technically you are, is this an ag tech
So this is a
on some level? It's
com-
biotech, but
yeah, it's biotech. We call it. There's sort of divided into ag tech, which is mostly plant,
Okay.
and then you've got production animal, which is obviously cattle
And that's still
poultry.
ag tech.
and then you've got companion animal,
Okay.
which still kind of falls under that, you know, broad umbrella.
So how many dogs are there in the United States? What's the estimate of that?
Close to 90 million dogs in the U.S.
A lot.
Wow.
And what about cats?
Also close to 90 million.
Now you guys are dog specific?
Right now we're focused on dogs. That is, when we look at where's the market, dog is the larger market, and so we focus there. Interestingly, when we started, we of course came out of a human health company, and so we have one lens that we're looking through, which is focused on One Health, and how dogs actually are a great model, if you will, for how a treatment would function if you were to put it into humans.
Okay.
And so the theory was, if we can cure cancer in dogs, in multiple cancer types, and that's what's exciting about our product, is we're not restricted to just a single type of cancer, whereas most of the chemotherapies only work in one type of cancer, or you know, other types of biologics are so specific that they only work on one type of cancer. Ours is, because of the way we manufacture it, ours is actually applicable to multiple types of cancer. So we started with bone.
So has your treatment actually, like, and this is, I mean, maybe too broad of a question, but has it actually worked in the regard that, like, here's cancer and now it's gone?
Yeah,
I mean, wow.
yeah. I'll just let the silence go there for a second.
Well,
while
sure,
you
and like I
ponder
said,
that.
I know that's kind of, I mean, and congratulations, but
Yeah.
I mean, and so, you know,
I can talk about that.
okay, sure. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get too deep into it,
No,
but
it's
you know,
fine.
I mean, so I'm assuming that it's much easier to get these things into action in the field for a dog than it is for a person.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not the same kind of regulation, right? But there is some.
Oh, there's a lot of regulation on dogs as well. The FDA regulates some companion animal products. The USDA regulates other companion animal
Okay.
products. We happen to be in the USDA's purview with this particular product. And, they have an obligation, just like in humans, to ensure the safety of what's being applied to the animals. So, we started and said we're going to focus on bone cancer. That is a devastating disease for dogs. They have a very short lifespan once diagnosed, as you were mentioning earlier. Right. If all you do is surgery, they might live 3 months, maybe 5 months. If you do surgery plus chemotherapy, they might live 6 to 9 months. And so we said, we believe this is a great place for us to start, because if we can show an impact, we're going to show an impact fast.
Okay.
So we started in bone cancer. We ran a clinical study with one of the universities hereby, University of Missouri Vet Med Center. And in that study, there were 10 dogs that were newly diagnosed with cancer. So these are dogs that walked into the vet hospital, diagnosed with cancer, sought treatment. 10 of those dogs completed our full protocol. 5 of those dogs are still living today and are considered long-term survivors.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we're very, very careful in life sciences, be careful of the cure word.
Sure.
But in that population of dogs, we did have several instances where we can confirm that the disease was starting to take hold, and then our treatment was able to reverse that back around.
That's crazy.
That's very cool.
Congratulations.
That's very awesome.
And
so how long have these clinical trials been going on?
We started our clinical trials in 2015.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we've worked really closely with the USDA Center for Veterinary Biologics.
So do you have some that you did treatments in 2015 and they're still cancer-free?
We have dogs that are well over 2 years.
Wow, very cool.
Survivors, which in dog years, 14.
Yeah.
And in humans, if a human survives their cancer more than 5 years, they're considered cured. So we have 50% of the dogs in that study were long-term survivors and still living today. We continue to follow them.
So, and that's got to be kind of hard to measure too, because, all right, so I mentioned my neighbor's dog was a St. Bernard. That's not a dog that has a long lifespan. I mean, they don't live that long. I mean, even when they're considered to be healthy, they're just
10 to 12 years is a long time.
Max, yeah. And
some dogs live 15 years?
Well, yeah. I mean, like small dogs, some will be 15, 17. Now, I had a big dog. I had a pit bull chow mix that lived to be 15 years old, and did well, and just one day just kind of fell over and died. I mean, it was sad, but I mean, he had lived a long life and never had any kind of issue or any kind of cancer or anything like that. Now, but when you look at the results and you say, well, this dog that had bone cancer had lived, you talk about dog years and stuff like that. Is 2 years the mark? Like if they've gone 2 years, is that now considered like maybe this is gone and they're cured?
Well, if they make it to 2 years, we pretty much feel like they are not going to die of this cancer.
Okay. So now, all businesses and all startups and all entrepreneurs go through a series of failure and frustration. What are some of the things that are the most frustrating, or the failures that you look back at and think, man, we really learned a lot from that, or we can learn from that, and I don't know,
help others.
Sure. And I'm thinking like, I mentioned before we started recording, sometimes we talk about the things that we fail at. Well, any type of these are experiments, so they're ripe with failure. That's actually, you maybe even want to fail faster so you can get that stuff out of the way and try something new. But I got to feel like there's some kind of roadblocks or things that you look at and you go, man, get out of the way.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably something related to regulation or something along those lines. I mean, what's the thing that you wish you could just kick down and get out of the way? And by the way, if you want to see Tammie roll her eyes, you can check out the Startup Hustle YouTube channel. We'll be
list is
we'll have a version of this up there, but yeah.
The list is long. Raising money is hard.
Amen.
Setting milestones that you can achieve within the amount of money that you have to spend is critical. Finding the right team, both the team that's on the ground working with you every single day, is hard, because in a startup, and I do this in every interview, You're coming into a small biotech startup. You are now employee number 4 or 5 or maybe 6.
Not 5,000.
Exactly.
Or 58,000.
That's right. And there is no one to do the things that you don't want to do in your job. So I tell them, I do everything. I will do everything. You may have to do everything. That may include taking out the trash. That may include making someone else's travel reservations. Maybe it's not in your job description, but if you want to work here, you have to be willing to be really good at what you do and also willing to help everyone else out when their workflow is overwhelming them, which is often in a startup company. I had some early hires that were mistakes. I wish that's probably the biggest thing that I would say I'd like to kick out of the way. Can someone just send me the best people for the job?
Yeah, but that never happens.
It never happens.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with some good agencies to help find good employees. One of the things I learned after a couple of hires was you really have to spend time with that agency and really help them understand
What's your
what
problem you're trying to solve, right?
exactly what is the culture that I need that person to thrive in.
So the people that you're hiring, are they vets, or are they biotech scientists, or are they
Oh my gosh, they're all over the
chemists or geneticists or
So several of my employees are microbiologists.
Okay.
They're qualified to do the manufacturing. Several of my employees are in the clinical research field. So they know how to run clinical trials. They know how to manage patients and hospitals through that process. Collecting the data on clinical trials is king. That's what it's all about. You're spending millions of dollars to run a clinical trial to get the data that you can then share with the marketplace and your regulator and your investors. So it's absolutely critical that you have the best people overseeing
How
that
many
clinical
employees
data.
do you have?
We're up to 9 now.
9. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and I do have a veterinarian.
So here's some interesting context. So my dad has a degree in microbiology.
Wow.
And yeah, he's a lawyer. Or was.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, but
Makes total sense.
But anyway, for his, and you will talk about like the difficulty in what these people do. So he went to the University of Notre Dame, and in order to get through whatever class that he needed to get through to get his degree, he had to take the ovaries out of a fruit fly and place them into another one. I mean,
That's microbiology.
yeah, that is
right?
literally microbiology. But like, think about that. Like,
A fruit fly.
how do you even go about doing that? Like, and then first off, half the ones you look at aren't even going to be a female. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, these guys do great work.
I mean, that's crazy. Like, and that was 40 years.
So your dad was checking out fruit fly lady parts.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. He got a degree in it.
I'm gonna have to ask him about that.
Well, when you see him,
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, it
Tom.
might be a good podcast.
Yeah. We should go ahead and
That's
have. We
weird.
should go ahead and have him in. We'll call it fruit fly lady parts, and we'll ask him about the frustration. But you talk about that, and that requires a specific type of. So you ask him why didn't you go into microbiology? Well, it's hard. It's frustrating. Think about like the precision and just like it requires a specific type of personality type.
Absolutely.
How do you cut those out with a knife?
Dude, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? We're gonna.
But they train that. The university here in town, University of Kansas, has a great biotechnology program. They turn out a lot of microbiologists that is a great access pool for us. The other thing that's great in this region is the prevalence of clinical trials organizations.
Yes.
And so I can access that talent pool as well. I just heard this morning that there's a new emphasis at one of the universities here to focus on developing those clinical trial coordinators.
I worked at a company. I worked at a medical lab, and wrote software to do clinical trials.
Ah, there you go. I need
did?
some of that.
Yeah, I did.
Wow. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, we can talk after the show.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a full-scale COO. We used to work for Lilly, and they
excellent.
did some stuff relative to that, and it was all about helping build stuff around data collection.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that was such an archaic process for a company so big, and they needed to revolutionize the way that they were collecting that. So, as we kind of wrap up this episode. What do you think? What do you see in the future here, and how are things like I was reading an article the other day about artificial intelligence and being able to, they had developed some technology that was able to listen to your heart, and based on specific things, it could match up with nearly 100% accuracy potential issues that you were having. It was just able to, there were just certain key factors in there. I mean, how do you see the world of software, technology, bioscience, or any of that? Like, what are we likely to see coming down the pipeline in the next 10 years?
In the veterinary oncology
Sure.
marketplace,
Yeah, sure.
specific to us. Immunotherapy, which is what our technology is, works best when you can have early detection of disease.
And that was the point with the AI. It was able
exactly.
to hear something about the electrical something. I don't know.
So there is a lot of work being done to focus on early diagnosis in dogs, because it gives whatever the treatment option is, you have a better chance to achieve a cure if you can treat that disease early. So there are a lot of people working on diagnostics. And all of that takes big data. There are a lot of people working on collecting the genetic information from dogs as well as from their cancers, so that they can start to look at correlations. And really it's all about correlations, and that's where the artificial intelligence, I think, can come into play.
Just because you mentioned big data, and when you look at the human genome or even a dog genome, or my God, that's actually like a really insane amount of information and data.
Yeah.
So is some of that already being used, and is that a pathway that you may take or partner with someone? Or?
Yeah, we definitely are always on the lookout for partnering opportunities. We're not a IT company,
Sure.
But certainly there's a lot of IT in what we do today, as well as what we will do in the future. So we are always looking at the possibility of partnering with other companies that have technologies that will be complementary to how our patients are treated, or that will be complementary to help diagnose that early. And then kind of back to the pet insurance industry, we're looking at partnerships with the pet insurance industry, because we think that, people do want to treat their pets. Often they can't afford it.
Sure.
But if you can sort of build up that insurance policy over the lifetime of the pet, so there's plenty of...
Oh, I see. Like if you had the pet insurance for 10 years.
Will pet insurance pay for cancer treatment?
It will pay for most pet insurance policies. I've looked at a lot of them, and most
they
will
probably
cover
wouldn't
cancer
want to
treatment.
take it on after a year. But like you
Right,
said, if you'd had it for a while, then sure, that would make more sense.
Yeah, pre-existing conditions are the same in dog policies as they are in human policies. So get the pet insurance.
I would imagine that's key to your business is the dogs that have insurance are more likely to do this, and the people who have to pay out of pocket are much
you would
less
think
likely
that, but we aren't seeing that yet.
Okay. It's got to help your adoption, though.
Right. We do believe that long term it will help the adoption rate. Right now we're just focused on making sure that we bring all of the veterinary specialty hospitals into our network, so that they're trained and can offer the treatment. So there's about 300 hospitals that we're targeting here in the U.S. These are specialty hospitals. So about 300 of those that we're targeting in the U.S. We have over 10% of them already on board and in the network.
So I think that's the key question as we wrap this up is what stage are you at from a business perspective? So you've done these clinical trials. Are you in the stage now of going to market and training them and getting them?
We are actually in the stage of going to market. We went to market in January.
Okay.
And we're pushing forward pretty aggressively to expand access to the treatment. Today we're marketing under a USDA experimental label.
Okay.
We're working very closely with the regulator to finish out all of the clinical trials that are necessary to remove that word experimental.
So how many treatments are you doing a month then?
We're right now doing about 5 a month.
Okay. And that's slowly ramping up over the next year
slowly
or two?
ramping up over the next year. We have pretty aggressive plans. I'm right in the midst of a capital raise right now to make sure we can execute those plans.
Good luck with that.
Yep.
So I'd like to do a follow-up on this somewhere down the line
Yeah.
and check back in. And, some of the different guests we've had, we've been doing this for a while now. We're pushing episode 200. I don't know if this will be before or after that. As of today's recording, we're on 180.
Wow.
Nice.
I know. It's a lot.
I can't believe that.
I know. We should be better at this by now.
Yeah.
If
You're
only
pretty good.
if only Matt was a better host.
Yeah.
or
Well, we got
co-host.
Voltron now.
I know,
You do have
dude,
Voltron.
he didn't say much.
No.
He didn't say. I'll tell you what. If anyone can cure anything, it might be Voltron.
Yeah, he will take that sword out and he will whip your ass.
He really
Yeah.
can. Now, I just feel like he's not contributing, and we're paying him a cut of the $0 that we make from this.
Wow. He
This
needs
is
to
probably
step up his game.
This is probably the worst business model ever. We don't have any ads.
But this podcast is brought to you by Fullscale.io.
It is.
Yeah.
And did you know that if you wanted to check us out on Instagram, you can go to @Startup Hustle Podcast,
Yes.
and you can see pictures from today, and you can see Lego Voltron. Also, you can find today's episode and our talking heads on our YouTube channel, which is now has a couple hundred subscribers.
Are we getting a lot of reviews?
No, not really.
Well, we need some more reviews, people.
Yeah. So if
Pretty
you
please.
could like, review, or subscribe to this podcast, and like I said, we're still looking for some fan art of Matt
Yes,
Watson.
please.
Oh man, I didn't even. Yesterday we didn't just get free snow pops. We also, I'm going to save that for the next episode because, we got some free stuff from a band.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they like my book about the music industry, but they also listen to the podcast now, so kind of like that. And well, anyway, if you want to check out more about ELIAS Animal Health, and that's ELIAS animalhealth.com. Tammie, I really love what you're doing. I think it's super cool. I am a dog person. Probably going to get another one here in the spring when my kids are now big enough to handle that.
Excellent.
And we did have a French bulldog that lives somewhere else now because it wouldn't stop biting my children when they were smaller. Yeah,
Oh.
that was a bummer.
Yeah.
We spoiled the dog, but you talk about like the dog's a member of the family. I mean, and that was literally the issue. Is Jill had spoiled the dog so much that when we had kids, dog wasn't having it.
Wasn't the baby anymore?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
So anyway, once again, make sure you like, review, and subscribe to this episode. If you want to check out ELIAS Health, go to eliasanimalhealth.com. Throw some support out there for the people that are doing stuff that matters. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thanks. Bye.